Welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Genos is the Latin word for tribe, and side is a Latin word that refers to killing. When these two words are combined, they become genocide, the act of killing an entire tribe or community. The most horrific genocide of all time is the Nazi extermination of the Jewish people during the Second World War. The Nazis shot and gassed over 6 million Jews. It is a crime unparalleled in human history. And 52 years ago, the Pakistan army killed over 1 million Bangladeshis during Operation Searchlight. It was a horrific 9-month-long orgy of violence inside erstwhile East Pakistan. And it was meant to break the will of the Bengali people. But yet, over half a century later, the United Nations is yet to declare this Bangladeshi genocide a genocide. And today I'm delighted to welcome to the News9 Plus Show a veteran of the Bangladesh war, Brigadier Basant Kumar Ponwar. And joining me is veteran journalist Saleem Samad from Dhaka. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show. And I'm of course joined here by my colleague Deepak Badana. Brigadier Ponwar, to start, you were part of the Indian Army Liberation Forces that entered Dhaka in December 1971. Describe for us what you saw then and how it shook you as a young lieutenant in the Indian Army.
I had just finished the mountain warfare course in Sonamag in the first week of October. And we got to know that war clouds are just around the corner. We had to report to our unit. And by that time, my unit has concentrated around Tura, the Meghalaya eastern border, western border. And we are preparing ourselves for a likely operation which is to take place very shortly. We were training in the battlefield, on the border, along with the Mukti Bahini forces who had been trained. And the Mukti Bahini boys were so determined to liberate their nation. Because in the month of March, on 25th of March, when their prospective Prime Minister, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, his party came to power, and his party was to come to power in both East and West Pakistan, which was not acceptable to the West Pakistanis. They said they destroy these people. How can they ever hope to rule from Lahore and from various other places in Pakistan? They were subjected to such atrocities of throwing away their houses, killing their people, young people, and just killing for the sake of it. And these were the stories we got to know. Mukti Bahini was determined to liberate their nation. They said, we will go along, we'll give you complete help. And that's how we, together as a buddy teams, we started our work, we started our objectives, we started our planning. And then came the sudden surprise that on 3rd of December 1971, that the Pakistani Air Force launched an airstrike on our airfields in the western sector. The tide was set, everything was ready, and all we had to do was go across the border. That's the time instructions came in that we have to liberate Bangladesh. And off we went. Along with Mukti Bahini was a tremendous buddy team, warriors who showed us where the Pakistanis are concentrated, where the crossing places in the rivers. Over 10 million refugees had come across into Bangladesh, into West Bengal and Tripura, and this side into Assam, and all places there were refugee camps. We used to go and give them some help and whatever things was required for them to do, for their day-to-day living. But they had to go back. They had to go back where there is safety. There is safety, and they can live a normal life like normal citizens.
Right. Brigadier Ponwar, you entered Jamalpur. Which was the first Pakistan Army defended city that you entered? Was it Jamalpur?
As we entered, the first defended city was Bakshiganj.
Right.
Kamalpur we bypassed on 3rd, 4th December, and Kamalpur fellow surrendered. He was a good fighter. We had launched several attacks on him, the battalion attacks on the Kamalpur BOP, but they fought well, But as soon as they were bypassed from all, there was no barbed wire or no defenses along the border. We could cross from anywhere, just boundary pillars saying India and Pakistan. So we crossed from there, and then we decided that we'll surround Bakshiganj and reduce Bakshiganj. Bakshiganj had about 150 odd Pakistanis and Razakars. However, as I just mentioned, that Major Ayub, their company commander, got killed in a pre-artillery battle. As such, with no leader, the entire company was asked to fall back to Jamalpur, which was another 20 kilometers away. So in Jamalpur on the night of 9th, 10th December and 10th, 11th December, there were almost 1,500 Pakistanis, Razakars, and all villagers had left the town. Only their battalion commander, Colonel Sultan Ahmed, was there to hold the town of Jamalpur. But then what happened? In the eastern and western sectors, by 10th, 11th December, larger forces were closing in onto Dhaka. The 7th Fleet was also coming in from the Bay of Bengal side. So we were in a hurry. We got instructions that we have to reach Dhaka soonest. We have to liberate the nation soonest. And we were in the north. And we were in a place where we could go straight to Dhaka without any obstacles after we have crossed the Brahmaputra.
Did you witness these instances of genocide, the ethnic cleansing that the Pakistani military had done firsthand? Describe for us what you saw.
Yeah, I saw a lot of villages evacuated, villages burned down, villages, dead bodies lying around in a number of places as we were approaching. And then when we reached Jamalpur, because we were first concentrating on the military part of it to reduce the Pakistani threat. In the first 48 hours, in any case, the airstrikes by our Indian Air Force had done them good, and they could no more fly their aircrafts, and all their aircrafts were grounded. So there was no enemy air. We could walk around in the daytime anywhere, and there was just no problem.
Yeah, Brigadier Ponwar, I'm just going to go to Saleem Samad, who's listening very patiently, for his views on the 16th of December. Mr. Samad, 16th December is a momentous day for both India and Bangladesh. It's Vijay Diwas, it's Liberation Day, it's the creation of Bangladesh. And as we were discussing earlier, it's been 75 years since the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide. Now, the end of the Liberation War, the creation of Bangladesh, and half a century later, it's still to be declared a genocide. You know, the kind of horrific war crimes that Brigadier Ponwar has witnessed firsthand. How does this impact Bangladesh today? Is it still a huge discussion point? The fact that over 1 million of your citizens were killed, and even half a century later, it's still not being recognized as a genocide.
Thank you. First of all, yes, it is true that this is still being discussed. Media often reports, and the talk shows they discuss. But unfortunately, the international organizations like the United Nations have not recognized Bangladesh genocide as a war crime. So that is another major hurdle that has to be overcome. Secondly, that for example, like the Armenian genocide, you must understand.
Yes, almost 100 years ago.
Yes, almost 100 years. So
yeah.
it may take another 100 years to get the attention of the international bodies.
Right.
So it is not only the United Nations, but of course the United Nations, even the Security Council, most of the Security Council members in the 1971 war had opposed Bangladesh independence. They literally supported Pakistan.
Yes.
So obviously, if you talk about China, you talk about any other countries, that is a major hurdle for getting the three things, the issue of genocide, to the international body.
Right.
Even if we are not talking about the international body, European Union has started discussion. The European Parliament has recently started discussion.
Yes.
They have held a seminar within themselves and did a probe. A probe committee came to Bangladesh only recently. So things have started rolling. I will not blame that everybody is not recognizing. Yes, everybody knows. If I talk about the United States, you talk about Canada, you talk any West countries, they are aware of the genocide. And of course, the media in that country, of course, there is the issue that why Bangladesh genocide has not been recognized. It is not in one word called genocide. So there was a 500,000 women were victims of rape as a
That's
weapon
correct.
of war.
It's one of the largest such instances post the Second World War.
Secondly, yes, it has already been mentioned that the world's largest war village has been created in 1971.
Yes.
World's largest since the Second World War.
Right.
And that has, India was, of course, had given shelter
Yes.
to this 110 million people. Otherwise, I don't know, they would have also perished.
Right.
And are now new researches recently that on the way to the border, means the refugees who are living back at their home and to reach one of the nearest border. There were several incidents. At least we have found 60 sites where genocide was committed.
Yes.
Because it was easily understood that they were crossing the border. So obviously, there is no question asked. They were
Right.
just slaughtered. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons Bangladesh has, for the first time, possibly in South Asia, I'm not sure about other countries, have a genocide museum, which is formally going to be, has already started.
Yes.
Soft plots, but it's going to be, they have now a building in Khulna, where
Right.
most of the genocide had occurred.
Yes. In fact,
which is the south-
Mr. Samad, I was just speaking with my colleague Deepak here a little while ago about how the Indian Army actually performed two major rescue missions in 1971. First is to rescue the Bangladeshi people from the Pakistan military, and then later rescue the Pakistan military from the Bangladeshi people. You know, after 16th of December. Brigadier Ponwar, was that the right thing to do in your mind? After 50 years, do you think that not bringing the Pakistan army to trial for all the crimes that they had done in 1971, you know, to formally hold a war crime tribunal in 1971 itself, the fact that the India could have done that, but we chose not to do that. Was that a mistake, you think, in hindsight?
Well, a serious punishment has to be given to a serious crime. And this genocide was a very serious crime. I mean, we were there, we were watching the refugees telling us the stories as to how the West Pakistanis were told to go and eradicate. They killed all the university professors
Right.
and all those intelligent people.
Just hold your thoughts. We'll come back to you after a very quick break. Deepak has a question for Mr. Samad.
Sir, you were a young man in your teens during what was really a very horrific period in the history of your country. You know, to have lived through that must have been an extraordinary feat in itself, and you know, millions died. You know, if I were to ask you to jog your memory a bit, you know, I understand that this was a horrific experience, and it may almost be traumatic to even think of it. But for the benefit of our viewers, if you could just, you know, tell us what you saw at that crucial time.
Two things. That would not, I think it is very important. Number one, I'm a genocide survivor. I was caught on the 26th of March, and I was supposed to be slaughtered. Two of my colleagues who were fighting this, of course the Mukti has not been formed. Two of my young colleagues, they have already been slaughtered. Slaughtered means just, their throats were cut off. I was the third person, but I was narrowly escaped. Escape doesn't mean I didn't run. Somebody else had helped me to survive. So when I left that place, because I went to collect my mother as a rescue mission. I mean, my mother, my two brother, and my sisters to the safest place in Dhaka, which is the old city. And on the way, I have seen bodies lying on the street, and it was for some reason 25th and 26th night was little cold. So obviously it didn't rot, but the bodies were swollen. So that day was 27th. So I have seen people have died. I have seen people's bodies are lying on the streets of Dhaka. And unfortunately, most of the people that I saw, if my memory doesn't fail me, they were actually sleeping on the street, or they were hawkers. Hawkers means selling tea or this stuff. So obviously they always sleep next to the small, the table or the booth. So obviously they want to protect that. So I have seen most of them. The rickshaw pullers were slaughtered. I saw many rickshaws where the bodies were lying beside it. So obviously you can see it was a nightmare. a nightmare. And when I further went close to the old city, in fact, the city was almost vacant. Vacant means there was no people because of the fear of, number one is of course the genocide, and secondly is that there was a curfew coming in the next 2 hours. So another thing is I was passing. My family was passing through a place called Tati Bazar. So that is a place where most of the Hindus were they're artisans. I mean, 100% artisans. So and that artisan was attacked, and they were already people had already all the artisans were killed. Most of the artisans killed. Whoever had escaped could escape. I mean, crossing the river, which is river was just beside that place. So Tati Bazar and Shakari Bazar. Shaka is a band that the Hindu woman after getting married wear it. So that was a place where there was massive slaughter.
My God.
And of course, yes. So that is one of the things that I have seen.
Right.
But I want to add to the previous question about the war criminals or the 195 war criminals. Can I add? If you allow?
Mr. Samad, I'm afraid we are totally out of time. We'll continue this discussion after the show. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us and reliving that what is clearly a nightmare of the kind that South Asia probably hasn't seen in a very long time. And we can only hope that it's formally recognized for what it is. It was a genocide of unparalleled nature, at least in South Asia. And I would like to thank Brigadier Ponwar, the part of the liberation forces of 1971, and my friend Mr. Saleem Samad, one of the survivors of this horrific genocide. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. We'll keep coming back to you for news and updates on the News9 Plus show. Now, Lawrence Bishnoi is India's most notorious gangster, except that he's already in prison, running his gang with impunity. Deepak, you have the story on Lawrence Bishnoi, Prison No Bar. Tell us how Bishnoi manages to run his gang from within Tihar jail.
You know, it's almost incredible. This man has been in prison since 2015. You know, when he was still a student leader, I believe he graduated from Punjab University in 2013.
So his entire life, 8 years he's been in prison.
He's been in prison.
And he's running one of India's biggest gangs.
In his own words, he went in as a student leader. He became the gangster that we all know from India.
In prison.
In prison. That's where he threatened Salman Khan.
Right.
That's where he orchestrated the killing of Sidhu
Moosewala.
Moosewala. And now the killing of the Sri Karni Sena chief.
In
Mr.
Rajasthan.
Bhogamudi,
Right.
in
Which is why
Rajasthan.
we did the story. But, you know, Deepak, one big question that comes to mind is that, you know, gangsters normally do crime because it's not for ideological reasons. They do it for material benefit, right? They'd like to enjoy the proceeds of the crime. In Bishnoi's case, what does he gain from, running this gang? He's sitting in prison. How does he enjoy all the money that he's supposed to, extort and collect? I mean, is he doing it for some other reason beyond just the material purpose?
So, this is a very important question, and it brings to mind a very important facet of the Punjabi gangster / mafia, if I may call it that. So, unlike other crime organizations, say the
like
Italian
in
mafia,
Mumbai, right?
or the
where I come
Mumbai,
from.
the D
Yes,
company.
Yes.
Those people consider themselves businessmen first, and they use violence as a means
Right.
to protect their turf or their interests. Now, that's not the case with the Punjabi mafia. In Punjab, its reputation, the large life, living larger than life, it's that which comes as a priority. Money and fame, all of that comes later.
Okay.
So, if you look at Bishnoi's case or the many other gangsters that have been in Punjab, all of them became gangsters first. They were in college, they got into brawls, cases
Right.
multiplied, and they built a reputation as tough guys.
Right.
And it's only once that they garnered such a reputation that they ventured into, say, the business of crime.
Right. So it's a reputation thing, and it's not for material gain that they're running
In
these
any
gangs.
case, he's in prison, as
And
we said.
exactly, he's running this gang out of prison and reputation. That has to be a very, very unique case. And in fact, you can watch Deepak's story, Prison No Bar, on the News9 Plus app. There have been a spate of recent deepfakes targeting Bollywood. First, Rashmika Mandana, Kajol, and now Alia Bhatt. It's still early days and the technology is still developing, but we're calling it tarring the stars. And joining me is my colleague Justin Thomas, who's helped put this story together. Justin, how scared is the industry of this horrifying new trend of deepfakes?
They're completely scared, and right now, I don't think immediate solution is in place right now, because yes, there was morphing happening earlier. There were a lot of image changing, but now the generative AI tools that have come out have completely made you wonder whether what you're seeing is right, whether you're hearing what you're right.
Yes.
It completely removes all those steps and makes it looks really real.
Right.
So what has happened right now is that no regulations in place. They're still grappling. The authorities are still grappling.
Yeah.
The IT companies, the social media giants are still trying to form rules. So amidst this, people, especially women, because most of those videos, about 90% of them are at least either sleaze or pornographic.
Yes.
So because of that, and let's say in a conservative country, like example from Pakistan, where a father and his uncle shot down a woman, 18-year-old woman, because some photo went viral with some man, which the authorities later claimed that it was, deep fake.
Deep fake.
So, in a society where such challenges, conservative studies challenges are there, such videos coming out, so women are the prime targets in this situation.
Right. And what about the legislative part, Justin? There's been a lot of talk. The Prime Minister himself mentioned it recently. The IT Minister, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, spoke about it. How important is it for the government to step in now? Because
the idea is to be preventive than reactive. So US has come out with an executive order, Europe, EU has come out, India has also a few months back, just a month back, said that we are bringing in regulations, but they are still very slow in terms of what they're still to catch up with the technology that is already running haywire about it.
Right.
So yes, the system is slow, and right now the women are left to fend for themselves. And so if in the case of celebrities, obviously they have that kind of clout to help them out, but in a common person is completely caught off guard and
absolutely, common person completely caught off guard, and in this case celebrities. And to put a spin on that famous saying that a lie, or in this case a deep fake, has traveled halfway across the world before legislation has time to put its shoes on, and that seems to be the case where we are at today. But that's our story, Tarring the Stars. It's just dropped on the News9 Plus platform. You can download it and watch.
Seeing is believing, or is it? These are your favorite celebrities that you saw in the videos. But what if I told you that they are not? Welcome to the world of deepfakes. These celebrities were caught in the web of deepfakes. So what if I told you that you could be next?
Khalistan is back in the news. A spate of attacks on Indian missions and death threats made to Indian High Commission staff in Canada and the UK have spotlighted this issue we thought had gone away a long time ago. Now, in one instance, a Canada-based terrorist recently even threatened to attack Air India aircraft. Now, none of these threats can be taken lightly. And we only have to go back to 1985 to the horrific bombing of Air India 182, the aircraft called Emperor Kanishka, which killed all 329 persons on board. Let's watch this excerpt from our upcoming story, The Bombing of AI 182.
I'm Sanjay Lazar. I lost my entire family in the Air India 182 Kanishka. This is, the story of my life. I failed my 12th standard, and that happened in June of 1985. And we were all to go on a holiday to Toronto, and I got my results 2 days before our departure, and they wanted to cancel their trip. You know, the shock and horror of me failing upset my family no end. My dad didn't want to go. My stepmom didn't want to go. I said, no, please go. And you know, I'll submit my papers for evaluation and I'll stay behind. It's only 10 or 12 days. It's not that I'm a 3-year-old child or something like that. My dad was obviously the in-flight supervisor. He worked in Air India for 24 years before that, and he was operating that flight along with a lot of friends, and they were all taking their families along.
The Vikrant and its fighter jets played a crucial role in the liberation of Bangladesh. The Vikrant attacked Pakistani forces and prevented their seaward escape. The aircraft carrier Vikrant was thus the Bangladesh Brahmastra. We'll leave you with this episode from our special series, Nerves of Steel. You can download the News9 Plus app from the App Store or the Play Store for more such thrilling stories. Thanks for watching.
On the 3rd of December 1971, Pakistan's dictator, General Yahya Khan launches a preemptive strike against Indian airfields. India declares war.
Pakistan launched a full-scale war against us.
The conflict is fought on two fronts, east and west. India plans to hold the Pakistani military in the west and advance in the east. East Pakistan is 1600 kilometers away from the western wing. It is connected only by air and sea. The air route is closed. In February 1971, an Indian Airlines flight is hijacked, taken to Lahore, Pakistan, and blown up. India responds by banning overflights by Pakistani aircraft. The sea is now Pakistan's only means of resupplying its eastern province. East Pakistan has multiple ports. General Yahya Khan can count on a fleet of merchant ships to bring in supplies. If the Indian army advances, these ships will evacuate soldiers from East Pakistan. Such a rescue has happened before. In 1940, Hitler invaded France. Great Britain rescued 300,000 French and British soldiers across the English Channel. It was called the Miracle of Dunkirk. 30 years later, Yahya's eastern commander, Lieutenant General Amir Abdullah Khan Niazi, is counting on such a miracle. But one force stands in General Niazi's way: the INS Vikrant. The Vikrant was brought from the United Kingdom in 1957. It was commissioned in 1961. It is Asia's only aircraft carrier. It can carry 23 aircrafts. The ship has not seen action in a decade, but that is about to change.